Hello, my name is Josh Gibbs and I am the packaging engineer for the Juicy Juice Company. Today I'm going to be giving you a briefing on a product packaging design that we've been working on for one of our high-end juices that is designed to be sold on the retail market. So there's going to be two-part packaging elements for this. There's a primary packaging which actually contains the product itself, and then there's a secondary packaging which contains the original product, the bottle that the juice is contained in as well. During this briefing, I'm going to give you some of the assumptions that are being made with the limited information that was provided, so that there provides a little bit of context to some of the statements in the briefing. I'm going to talk about the primary packaging, what the materials are going to be made of, and then what some of the pros and cons are with the choices that I've made. I'm also going to be talking about the printing methods, how we're going to print labels and company information and things like that. The environmental impact that our product packaging is going to have, or is anticipated to have. The secondary packaging, and how that packaging is going to be printed. So with that being said, let's get started. So with some of the assumptions that I've made are that choosing the printing method and the material, as well as I have a general understanding of what the required elements of the product label are, such as nutrition information, ingredients, and any health warnings or legal information. I've also assumed that our company desires to have a positive environmental impact and an overall reduction in non-recyclable waste, and that they choose to use recycling-friendly products. I'm also assuming that the company has given me the responsibility to incorporate design engineering requirements with the sales, marketing, transportation, supply chain, quality control teams, to be able to ensure that we have an entire team approach to the design of this product, and it's not just the engineers working on something without input from the total team of the company. And I've also made the assumption that our juice product does not require refrigeration until after opening, which means during the manufacture process, the bottling process, the initial packaging, the secondary packaging, transportation, distribution center storage, all the way through retail store arrival, shelf placing, and consumer handling. All of these things do not impact the quality of the product until it is actually open, the seal is broken, and then it would require refrigeration. So the primary packaging that I've chose for the material that I've chose for primary packaging is going to be a high density polyethylene, and I chose high density polyethylene over a polyethylene or a PET for a few reasons. So the high density polyethylene is not commonly used for juice bottles because it's a lot thicker than what you would see in like a water bottle. However, being that our product is a high-end product, which will come with a high-end sales price, and our marketing is directed towards consumers that are willing to buy a better product, not only a better tasting product, but a better looking product, a better packaged product, a better feeling product. So I think it's best to go with an HDPE type of a plastic for our bottle, and there are some pros and cons to this. So the chemical compounds in HDPE are similar to PET, but they provide a little bit more of a premium feel to them, and there are more options for shape sizes that you can use with HDPE than you can with PET. Some of the disadvantages is that, like PET, HDPE also poses a health risk during the manufacture process. There's a little bit, so workers would have to be protected against that. And then, if a consumer decided to burn the bottle or something like that, there is a health risk, but that's associated with most all common plastics nowadays anyway. PET has a more flexible compound makeup, which means that it is also easily manipulated. However, there's a risk with HDPE and absorbing ultraviolet light, and it having an issue to do with the product. And how we're going to counteract that is during the second packaging process. It's going to be placed in a cardboard box and then shrink wrapped with a printed shrink sleeve that protects against UV, so we won't really have that concern. Okay, I talked about materials. Polyethylene. Okay. So for printing method, to be able to get the label on the bottle, how we're going to do that is we're going to use a flexographic printing method for printing our bottle labels. For one, it's the most common type of method for printing bottles, so being able to outsource and look to a third-party company to be able to handle the printing of that is going to be relatively easier versus choosing something a little bit more exotic, where a company that does that is going to be a little bit harder to find. And also, flexographic printing is good for our product because you can print the label, and the material that you're printing on can also be flexible. So, if the bottle is not completely smooth all the way around, it's not going to affect the way that the label is printed or adhered to the bottle. So there are pros and cons to flexographic printing as well. The material that you can use in flexographic printing, you can use eco-friendly recyclable material, so like a paper fiber product that's really durable and it has like a thin wax layer on it to be able to help protect it from the elements. That's something that we could use, and they are durable enough that they would withstand the packaging process, the multiple handling that you would see through the various means of transportation from manufacturing to distribution center to retail store to in a consumer's hands. That packaging is durable enough, and the printing from a flexographic printer can survive that amount of handling and a lot of touch opportunities there. Some of the disadvantages of flexographic printing is that it's not as flexible in the designs that you can put on there. So we have chosen to not use really flashy, exotic, intricate designs for our product packaging. We're going for more of a simplistic approach, and being that we're using a simplistic approach and not doing anything exotic, flexographic printing is not really going to have an issue. But if we were ever to decide to make it more detailed or something like that, then we would have to pursue something like a rotogravure printing option or something similar to that. So from an environmental impact standpoint, we've kind of addressed some of those concerns. We're talking about using eco-friendly products. The ink in the printing process is going to be water-based, so that's eco-friendly. The product packaging itself is recyclable. HDPE is highly desired for recyclable, where PET has a disadvantage that there are carcinogens within PET, so during the recycling process it poses a health risk to the workers there. So though that it can still be recycled, it's not preferred to as much as like an HDPE would. The packaging materials itself, the cardboard box, is all biodegradable, so there's not really an environmental concern there. If it went to a landfill or if consumers chose to actually recycle it, it's fine either way. So for the secondary packaging that I talked about, the first part of that is going to be a corrugated box with the shallow walls and no lid, similar to what you would see in like a large case of soda or something like that, where the foundational support for the 24 pack of juices that we're marketing is supported by that cardboard. And the second element to the secondary packaging is that shrink wrap sleeve that I talked about earlier, where we would print the product information and the company logos and things like that, and that printing on there provides the bottles inside that packaging some UV protection, so there's not really as much a concern with using HDPE for the bottles themselves. So that process is going to be pretty similar to how most of those products that you see come out when you buy, you know, a 40 pack of water at a big box store or something like that. You'd see those bottles all grouped together, and then they're heat shrink wrapped together, so they stay together, they can be carried together. It provides an advantage when it comes to structural stability, because when we look at containerization and how we're going to get this product out to the masses, how it's going to be shipped out there, the bottles themselves, being that we've chosen a thicker material, are going to provide some structural stability and enable you to stack multiple cases on top of each other without having to worry about them toppling over, because you have the cardboard, you have the shrink wrap, and then you have the durability and the thickness of the bottles themselves, all aiding to the structural rigidity of our cases of juice. Okay, so I'll rehash some of the things that I talked about today. I went over some of the assumptions that I made with the assignment, because they weren't given in the details that lended to how some of the decisions were made and some of the background behind some of that. I also talked about the primary packaging, the materials that we were going to use, the pros and cons of using those, the different options that we could have used that are pretty common in that industry. We talked about the printing method, pros and cons, going with the flexographic versus over a Gruder-Revere printing method. We talked about the secondary packaging, what those materials were going to consist of, and why I chose that, being that it aids in the structural rigidity. And then we also talked about the package printing, the process that we're going to use, and that it's eco-friendly, and we are using biodegradable materials with that. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and let me know. Thank you for your time.